The federal investigation into President Biden's son, Hunter. New reporting from the Washington Post is shining a light on high-level business dealings between Chinese executives and the younger Biden. NBC News Justice correspondent Pete Williams filed this report last week on the latest developments.
People familiar with the federal investigation of Hunter Biden, which he himself disclosed a year and a half ago, say it's broader now than he at first described it, with a growing number of witnesses called before a grand jury. It began as an examination of whether he paid all the taxes he should have on income from his work for foreign companies, including Burisma Holdings, a Ukrainian energy company. This email from a former business partner, for example, found on a laptop computer Biden used, said he failed to disclose $400,000 that he was paid by the Ukrainian company. That laptop, which he took to a Delaware shop to get repaired but never reclaimed, was seized by the FBI, but not before Trump lawyer Rudy Giuliani got a copy of its hard drive, which he shared with congressional Republicans. Documents they've made public show that accounts linked to Biden also received nearly $4 million in consulting contracts from a Chinese energy company, according to an analysis by the Washington Post. But during the campaign, then candidate Biden denied there was a China connection.
My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about, China.
Senate Republicans say the documents also show Hunter Biden signed an agreement to represent an official of that company, Patrick Ho, for $1 million. Ho was later convicted in a U.S. court of trying to bribe government officials in Africa. The Republicans say that shows Hunter Biden had close ties to the Chinese government.
Hunter Biden was financially connected to CEFC, a company that was an arm of the communist Chinese regime.
Now, according to people familiar with the investigation, it has broadened out to look at whether he violated federal lobbying disclosure laws.
Although many on the right have used this story to accuse the president himself of corruption, the Washington Post writes that it, quote, did not find evidence that Joe Biden personally benefited from or knew details about the transactions with CEFC, which took place after he had left the vice presidency and before he announced his intentions to run for the White House in 2020. So this is the story we brought Dan on for. He's the host of Dan Abrams Live on News Nation. What do you make of first of all, the coverage and sort of the timeline of this and where the right or the left went wrong?
Yeah, so I think that there were mistakes on both parts, right? Let's start with the laptop, because that's the thing, the laptop.
Yeah.
All right. So Rudy Giuliani takes this information, and even Fox News says, this isn't good enough for us. We're not going to go with it. People forget about that Rudy Giuliani actually went to Fox News and they said, we can't verify this. We can't.
And why is that?
Because he was just giving them essentially, the emails, a drive, but without any sort of sense of where it came from or any ability to verify it. Then he brings it to the New York Post and they go with it. Okay. Now, it turns out that it seems that at least a lot of what was on that laptop is true. And here's where the problem is from the left-leaning media perspective, which is, why didn't they make any effort to try to verify it? In particular, the moment that Hunter Biden admits that he's under federal investigation, so now we're in December of 2020, it's really just in the last month or so that the mainstream or the left-leaning media have begun to say, yeah, what was on the laptop, a lot of it really seems to be true. The question is, why did it take so long when it comes to something as significant, I would argue, as not just the president's son in potential trouble, but the possibility that the president's son, at the time, used the vice president's name, the former vice president's name, to do business in China, potentially elsewhere. Those are legitimate questions, I think, that the media didn't ask.
So, Dan, let me take you back, because you're talking about December, and it does make sense. Everybody should have been far more aggressive after the investigation was made public. But what about during the campaign? If you talk to Republicans, if you talk to conservatives who are critical of how this was handled, they'll talk about the fact that not only did mainstream media not pick it up, But also, you had bans from Twitter. You had bans. I don't know about YouTube.
Yeah.
I don't know. But there were social media bans on this being misinformation. What happened? What happened there? What was it? What was the timeline there? Because you said Fox News at first wouldn't run with it. Obviously, the New York Post ran with it early. People were very suspicious. But during the campaign, was there a time when social media, mainstream media, should have more aggressively gone after this?
Well, there's no question that it was an embarrassment to the social media giants that this was banned from being shared, right? It was declared misinformation. I mean, there's no question that that's a shameful moment, that they isolated this piece and said, oh, you can't share this. This is disinformation, etc. Because there was no evidence that it was disinformation. Now, it is true that when you think about the story at the time, it sounds insane, right? Hunter Biden goes to some random computer shop and just happens to leave his computer there and forgets to pick it up.
Rudy Giuliani picks it up.
Rudy Giuliani picks it up. I mean, the story is a bit, hard to believe, but that doesn't mean that the mainstream media, A, shouldn't have done more to try to see is this true or not, and B, the level of censorship that it got.
On social media?
Social media, et cetera, was clearly a mistake. Yeah. No doubt about it.
So let's cut to the heart of the accusation from a lot of the media, the right-wing media especially, which is that President Biden somehow benefited from this.
Yeah.
The Washington Post points out these deals that we're talking about took place after President Biden left the Obama White House, before he announced he was running for president. Hunter Biden's around the world throwing his dad's name around, trying to make these deals. Did it influence President Biden as president? Has it changed policy? Is there anything to point to say, yeah, actually, he did put his thumb on the scale for China or for Ukraine or whatever it was?
Right. So now this is the problem with what the right-wing media is doing, right? So the left-wing media deserves criticism for the Hunter Biden coverage and lack of coverage. But what many on the right are trying to do is they try and use the term the Biden crime family, the Biden this, the Biden, and it's like, whoa. Let's be specific about who in the Biden family we're talking about. What do we know? As of right now, there are isolated allegations about, well, Joe Biden was supposed to be able to get a piece of the action, et cetera, money that he never actually got, and that in and of itself should show that he was corrupt. I mean, as of today, there is no evidence. Now, the right would say, well, the reason there's no evidence is because people aren't digging. They're not looking hard enough to try and find it. And why are they not believing a former business partner of Hunter Biden's who says that the big guy, Joe Biden, was supposed to get a piece of this? Well, the Wall Street Journal was given all of the information. The Journal, not the Times, not the Washington Post.
Rupert Murdoch's Journal.
Correct. Was given all of the information in connection with this guy, Tony Bobulinski, who was this friend and business partner of Hunter Biden's. And they came to the conclusion that we don't see anything here which implicates Joe Biden himself. Now, that doesn't mean that the question can't be asked. But don't ask it in a disingenuous way, which is, well, I just am wondering what Joe Biden's. Well, as of right now, there is no evidence of Joe Biden's role. If you've got some facts, if you want to talk specifics about an email or what do we know, fair enough. But what you're seeing from some on the right-wing media is this effort to kind of lump together Hunter and Joe.
And amplify it wildly.
And again, like you said, the Biden crime family. The Jenny Thomas Biden crime family being placed on barges outside of Gitmo.
Claire?
Yeah, let's just do a couple truths here. One, Hunter Biden has made some serious mistakes trying to use his father's position to make money in a way that was wildly irresponsible. Number two, Hunter Biden himself has said, I am an addict. I had serious substance abuse problems. And by the way, all during this time period. And you can see by the facts of this case, who leaves their laptop at this place in his situation and never comes back to pick it up? Who does that unless somebody is clearly not functioning at a level? And three, Joe Biden loves his son. Now, are those three connected? Yes, but no. And I don't think I think everybody, when they voted for Joe Biden, knew Hunter Biden was a problem. I mean, he's a little bit like when Bill Clinton got elected, right? But he knew Bill Clinton was not as pure as the driven snow when it came to his personal life. But they said that's his personal life. And I think when they voted for Joe Biden, they said that's his son. And there's a family in America that doesn't have dysfunction around this issue.
Right.
And I think that people are being understandably forgiving of Joe Biden because he's not abandoning his son, but I don't think anybody sees him as participating in trying to get money from China or Ukraine while he's preparing to run for the presidency.
I mean, if I'm remembering correctly, we asked the questions, but it wasn't amplified as like in the middle of a huge story like right now, you'll see a right-wing, outlet going nuts over Hunter Biden.
Yeah.
It's amplified completely out of the realm of what's real. And I think that's one of the issues as well, too. I mean, during the election, I remember having conversations with, White House folks and people in the campaign, and really they're coming after me for asking these questions. So it's not that we didn't ask the questions. We didn't just go crazy blaring them as the lead story.
But here's the problem, though. But
and then Mike wants to jump in.
I understand what you're saying, and I understand clear what you're saying, but it's not about Hunter Biden. It's not about Hunter Biden's problems. What Dan's talking about, and I think what we all need to really examine, is not Hunter Biden. I mean, because I've always sort of seen it as a Billy Carter situation. It's what the media did do and what the media didn't do. Most importantly, what the media did and didn't do during the end of that election cycle. New York Post comes out with it. They're the only one that comes out with it. And then it is banned on social media.
That's bad.
It's horrific.
That's bad.
Because again, it is. I think we have to. You have to say it. It's a real story.
Oh yeah. Hey, thanks so much for watching our YouTube channel. You can follow up on today's top stories and breaking news, or catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.